Hello, Alex Genov. Welcome to the DoingCXRight show again.
Hi, Stacy. A pleasure to be with you.
Well, I say again for those listening because Alex is the first one of my over 100 shows that is a return visitor. And I'm so excited to talk because it's been, I feel like 2 years since you were here. So a lot's happened.
I know, Stacy, and thank you so much for the invite back. I feel really honored for this repeat guest title.
Yes. So for those who don't know Alex, if that's possible, Alex, who are you professionally? What do you do for a living?
Sure, Stacy. So I lead the customer research practice at Zappos. And what this is all the research that we do to really help the organization understand customers as individuals, as human beings, understand their psychology. So this is all work that is complementary to all the great work that our friends in analytics and data science do when they look at all the vast amount of numbers we have. So my role is, the way I see it, is to provide a little bit of balance and bring this humanity to the equation, and really try to provide this full view of the customer as the complex human beings that we are.
Yes, we are complex. What is a fun fact that people might not know about you, Alex?
Fun fact, yeah. So one of them is I'm a big fan and practitioner of Shaolin Kung Fu. And I've visited the temple 3 times now. And the second time, we spent a week there, and we trained, of course, but then they bestowed on us titles of, they gave us honorary discipleship. So I'm a 34th generation Shaolin disciple, although I have done very little I haven't earned it. I haven't trained enough or endured all the hardships that the real disciples have done. But it's one of those, I guess.
So a lot's changed, obviously, since I've seen you last, but certainly since you were 20 years old. With all the wisdom that you have now, what would you tell younger Alex based on what you didn't know then that you know now?
Sure. This was what, a couple of years ago?
Sure, exactly.
I can remember. No, that's a great question, Stacey. So I would say the following. I'll give myself the following advice: is to be, I guess, less focused on some objective scientific truth, because I was a very younger practitioner coming out of academia. I spent 10 years studying psychology, and so be less focused on some objective scientific truth and take a more practical approach to research in the business context, understand the business inner workings a little bit better, and really focus on building relationships as much as focus on being true to the scientific method.
Great answer. Well, let's get to the heart of the show, which there's a bunch of questions I have for you today. So since this is the DoingCXRight show, I want to start there. When I say that, what does that mean to you, doing customer experience right to Alex?
Yes, that is the $64,000 question, or it's thinking of good CX, probably millions, in the millions and millions, probably billions, as Carl Sagan would say, right? Billions and billions. So that's to me is I'm going to go back to what I mentioned in my intro, which is balancing looking at the numbers with understanding customers on a deeper psychological level. To me, that is really in this balance, which is hard to achieve at a time when we're so enamored with AI and numbers and big data and data science and so on. So it is important to look back and try to bring this humanity to the equation, if you will. So one really metaphor that I love, that I try to apply to my work at Zappos and try to evangelize in terms of any business adopting it, is the metaphor of hospitality, which is not reserved only for restaurants and hotels. And I've learned this from the famous New York restaurateur Danny Meyer, who wrote the book Setting the Table. I don't know if we talked last time we talked about this, but he defines hospitality as when something is done for you and not to you. So I'd say this is the same definition of good and great customer experience, is when you feel that something is done for you and not to you.
Does Zappos apply that intentionally, and is CX a differentiator?
Absolutely, Stacy. I mean, if you think about, let's first talk about the history of Zappos. Zappos was built on the idea, a very counterintuitive idea at the time, almost 25 years ago, that customer service is going to be the differentiator at a time when most businesses saw it as a nuisance and a cost to be minimized. Tony and the team decided to go the other way and basically invested a lot in creating this amazing customer service. Because if you think back, nobody was buying shoes online. The internet was new. And that was the way to gain this customer trust and provide a great experience. So great customer service, great selection, but also this very generous returns policy that was essential to create this sense of comfort of buying shoes online. So that was the history of Zappos and the origin story, if you will. And Tony used to say Zappos is a customer service company that happens to sell shoes. So fast forward 25 years, and our current CEO, Scott Schaefer, who's been with Zappos for over 15 years, he has evolved this statement or this mission to say Zappos is a customer experience company that happens to sell shoes. So customer experience is viewed as more than just customer service. So applying it to the digital experiences, to every aspect of the end-to-end customer experience.
So those guys did not comment on AI and customer experience the way we know AI today in this moment. So what is your answer around how Zappos is or will be using AI for better customer experience, without giving trade secrets away, of course, but in general, what do you see that looks like?
Of course, Stacey. Well, we cannot have a talk or a panel or a podcast without discussing AI, because that's the kind of the topic du jour. I mean, AI has been around for a while now. We called it different things, right? Big data, and so on. And the algorithms have been around for a while. The explosion of and the really amazing capabilities that were almost unveiled, right? That ChatGPT, for example, has made it a bit more front and center. So now everybody's talking about it. In general, so what I've seen personally is this incredible editing capability to understand language, to edit, to create, right? Both language and images and so on. So it's absolutely undeniable in that respect. Going beyond that, I have my questions, right? And I'm still waiting to see any capabilities that are beyond the linguistic capabilities of AI. I'm not a technologist, and I know technologists are very excited because I guess that sort of AI can go and look at millions of lines of code and find errors and write better code than humans can do. So that's also another aspect. I'm not really familiar with the technical aspects of it. But when it comes to creating an end-to-end customer experience, I'd say the principle, the age-old principle is the same. If you start from the technology and try to fit it somehow in the experience or find the use of it, most likely you're not going to hit the mark. But if you start with the customer experience in mind, and how you want your customers to feel, which is to me the definition of experience, then you can figure out what the best technology is, and then you can use the capabilities of AI to create that. So in practical terms, I think the wrong way to approach it is to say, everybody is using these chatbots, right? And now they're powered by AI. So they're more powerful chatbots. So we have to have one of those. And then you start thinking, well, how are we going to exactly use them? Versus the other way around should be, we have to communicate with our customers somehow, right? We have to, maybe we want to create this conversational commerce. So to me, conversational commerce is not a chatbot. It's a way of going back and forth with your customers somehow through the digital experiences. And then you can say, well, what's the best technology for that? And it may be clear, right? Or it may be some super powerful chatbot powered by AI. But to me, that forces you to think about what inputs go into that and how you write the algorithm to reflect what customers want and how they feel, for example.
So let's talk about this in kindergarten terms. AI
Right.
and shoes.
Right.
Okay? Connect the dots here. How does this come together?
Yeah, I mean, it's still in its infancy. I know our CTO, we have an awesome CTO, Nigel Story, who's really interested in applying AI to the experience in appropriate ways. And it's still to be determined. I mean, it's still this whole effort is in its infancy, but I hope to try things that we try things in the area of the biggest opportunities for our customers and for the business, which is when it comes to shoes and clothing, size and fit is a major challenge for any retailer, right? Because the way it's sold in the store is the store associate comes back with like 10 different a pile of boxes, right? And you keep trying until you get the right fit and comfort level and so on. How do you do that online? Well, there have been a lot of startups and a lot of efforts to do 3D imaging of the foot to have this virtual fitting and so on. I still am not aware of some really successful such technology. So how can AI help? I hope it helps to standardize, to create some kind of standard across all brands and all retailers, right, in terms of shoe sizing. There's interesting opportunities to apply it when it comes to predicting, what people will need. For example, kids, their feet grow at predictable rates and so on. So can AI help in that respect? That sort of thing. That would be, I think, really helpful. Also, if AI can help in creating a truly inclusive experience, right, in terms of all kinds of body shapes and sizes, right, and going beyond these buckets that we have, petite, big and tall, plus, and all that are kind of silly. People's bodies don't fit in like these three categories. And so how can this powerful new technology, this AI, help with that? That to me, these are all open questions.
So what you're saying, obviously, is AI can really help with personalization.
Mm-hmm.
And from research, which is what you do a lot of, and research, marketing, and even the contact center or customer service, where is the AI helping to facilitate those jobs and those responsibilities? Any opinion on that?
Well, I think again, I'm saying it's in its infancy. So I think there's a lot of so-called jobs to be done in Clay Christensen's terms that AI can help with. I can give you one specific example. Okay, AI in the research context, we have a very robust voice of the customer program, which we started 10 years ago. Now we have close to 1 million customer comments, and we track customer sentiment, so how they feel and why they feel about certain aspects of the experience. And AI is the only way to analyze this kind of data, this unstructured data, to structure it and to extract the nuggets, right, from the human. Like no single human brain, and even you give it to 1 million people, they won't be able to do this analysis the way AI does it. And so we've been partnering for a few years with a really great startup out of the UK called Chattermill. And so they have a natural language processing engine that's really powerful. So it's not necessarily, it was the generation before ChatGPT. And my understanding of this technology is that these models existed. It just ChatGPT is this much more enormous collection of these models, or something happens that makes it really, takes it a qualitative step above the rest. But we've been using the Chattermill technology for years now, and it's been very practical and helpful to figure out what 100,000 comments a year say about the experience.
It's not possible to read them all manually.
It's I mean, you can read them. Somebody can read them. It's going to take years and years. But then, even if you take 100 comments, you can read those. But the amount of work it goes into classifying each one. So take one comment, classifying it into positive and negative sentiment, because it can contain both, and then tagging it with the appropriate root cause, right? And then that, just working on one comment, imagine the number of columns in a spreadsheet that you have now. Multiply this by 1,000. So it's practically impossible. You're right.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I don't know if Chattermill does this, but I want to encourage listeners, not only is this so important about aggregating the voice of customer from that unstructured data, but make sure you're also intertwining the customer service conversations, the chat logs.
Sure.
There's so many multi-sources of insights. Agree?
Absolutely. And then to close the loop, Zappos now has gone a step further, and we've integrated with a company called Content Square. So it's a session replay technology that now we can see if somebody has an issue and says something vague in the comment. I mean, negative, frustrated, but vague. We can go and see what actually happened, and then that technology quantifies it too. So our engineers now can very quickly go and close those holes in the bathtub that caused a lot of not only customer frustration, but bottom line effects for the business.
And that's the game changer. I mean, I want people to really listen to this. Not only do you get the feedback from multi-sources, but close the loop, as Alex said, because if you don't, the data just sits somewhere and nothing happens, and your strategies are just serving your own purpose instead of customer needs.
Exactly. And it's been an evolution to where we first started the Voice of the Customer program and started reporting the Net Promoter Score, where the executives had this reaction, which is completely justified, which is, don't just tell me about a number. And especially when this number is going down, don't be this alarmist person, but tell me what we can do to fix it. And that is hidden in those on those comments. And I mean, to be completely, to be honest, we were doing the investigation manually for a while, right? Before we scaled it up with new technology. So it's not so much the technology, right? You can go in the logs, and it's kind of painful, but you can find the nuggets and the root causes, and then technology scales it. So I think that's a very important point to make, which is, don't wait for if you don't have budget for some an expensive technology spend, you can still go, and it's going to take longer, but you can still do it.
Absolutely. Now, I want to shift for a moment about an important topic you've written and spoken around, and it's NTS, Net Trust Score. What is that about?
Right. That's a great question, Stacy. So this is a question or a statement. The way I remember it, I heard it years ago from Fred Raquel, who developed the Net Promoter Score, and when he was at Bain, and they marketed it so well that it became the de facto standard of measurement of customer experience, right? All the C-suite question, because it's brilliant. It's one question. They validated it to measure not only customer satisfaction but loyalty, which is you're not only happy with the service or the product, you're telling your friends about it, or if you're so unhappy about it, you're telling others not to. So it measures loyalty and viral word of mouth promotion. That's important to note. It's not just a satisfaction measure. And when he mentioned this other question, which obviously he didn't market well enough because it's not very well known, but it's a brilliant statement, simple, like the Net Promoter question, and it says, let's say, retailers always have my best interest as a customer in mind. So it's basically, or you can say Zappos, or you can say any company always have my best interest as a customer in mind. And it's interesting. Reminds me of I read a quote from the none other than the Dalai Lama, who said that we're naturally driven by self-interest. It's necessary to survive, but we need wise self-interest that is generous and cooperative, taking others' interests into account. I mean, think about that. Right? The Dalai Lama is saying that, right? We need wise self-interest, and I think that's what this is saying. Is of course nobody's saying this company should be giving away products for free, because that business is not going to exist for long, right? So customers understand that there's a balance, and I think businesses that honor this balance will be more successful. So that's the essence of measuring trust in that way, because you can measure it in many different ways. So Edelman, they have this trust barometer, but they measure it at first of all, they use a whole bunch of questions, this lengthy questionnaire that measures various aspects of trust. And so they aggregate it. You can use the simple question, I trust Zappos, or I trust, which is okay. Then says, if you don't trust Zappos, why, right? But to have this best interest in mind, to me, it comes closer to Danny Meyer's idea of hospitality, which is I'm on your side, I'm doing something for you, right? And that realization. And of course, you need to break it down, just like with NPS, to figure out what drives it. When we ask this open-ended question, overwhelmingly we got the responses, companies are only after their profit. So that's why if customers mistrust businesses, it's because they believe that it's kind of a one-sided relationship.
Yeah, and I know for sure that Zappos has earned customer trust so well. So this is a great topic, especially for that brand. Well, as we're getting to the end here, some rapid fire questions. So first of all, best leadership advice that you have received, Alex, or given to somebody else. What stands out?
Yes, Stace, that's a great question. I would say to leave the ego at the door and to really focus on what's essential, which is doing the right thing and doing great work, and not to expect praise or credit necessarily. And that's basically going back to my initial mention of Shaolin Kung Fu. One of my teachers visited Vegas from Shaolin, and he gave the story of the founder of Kung Fu who visited the Chinese emperor, and the emperor asked him this question. He said he recounted everything that he's done for the Chinese people, and he said, "Should I get credit for this. And this guy Damos basically said that the moment you ask for credit, you've lost it. So it's basically that really is it's important. I think that's humility and being humble is important. That's one of the Zappos core values, actually, being humble.
Love that very much. And what is a takeaway? If people listening are going to remember one thing from this episode, what do you want them to walk away with and apply?
Sure, Stacy. That I would say it's this that customers aren't numbers, and if you treat them as such, you will not have loyal customers for long.
Or employees.
Or employees. So that's another very important point. This is speaking of the total experience. That includes employees, that includes vendors, your partners. And that's what, again, going back to the Zappos, the foundations of Zappos DNA was built on first do right by your vendors, by your employees, and by your customers. Kind of in that order.
Yeah. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am so grateful to have you on the show. The time went too fast, as always. And I will include in the show notes the best way to get in touch with you. And of course, Zappos. And just thank you for being here. I'm so glad to see you again.
Thanks, Stacy. Pleasure is all mine.